It's fine. You've had a long day.
It has been a very crazy day. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Transcending Humanity. This is episode 32. I'm Vanessa. I am joined by Erica and Zach. If you two could do a quick hello.
Go ahead, Zach.
Hi, good to be back. Happy New Year to everybody.
Hi, I'm Erica, returning once again to this wonderful podcast. You see my face a lot.
All the faces that we love to see here tonight.
Mhm.
So, originally for tonight, we took a little bit of an extended break because of the holidays. And originally tonight we were going to do a Trans Joy episode with Erica because it's been a hot minute. And so hopefully we'll have to do that next time because some things came up here, here in Ohio, here around little old Vanessa, that could have major implications on the trans community at large in the United States. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell the story of how it happened and what's going on. And Erica and Zach are going to just pop in and ask me questions as I go along. It's kind of a crazy story, and it all happened really quickly. So to start off, I'm sure that people who've been listening for a while know that I was running for the Ohio House of Representatives in District 50, District 50 of 99, 99 districts here. And I slowly collected signatures. I collected a total of 65 signatures, which I submitted on December 4th, right before I had my vocal surgery, because I figured I wouldn't be able to get signatures after when I couldn't talk. Ow. I just slammed my hand on the table.
Thanks. How many signatures did you have to turn in?
I needed 50.
50. Okay.
Yeah, but they had to be valid, and they checked them all. So
what counts as valid?
they have to be, since I was running as on the Democratic primary, they have to be registered Democrats, registered voters, and they have to live in the district. So
Okay.
I did my best to vet the signatures as I got them, but I also had some
Is
people help me get
eligibility
signatures.
part of the criteria? Because I know some states have laws that the signature has to be nearly identical to the one that was used in the previous election, and it
Yes,
can be discriminatory if you have a disability. But that's another discussion for another day.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to be with the people's names as is on their voter registration. So dead names, for example. And I had to make that clear because that did impact a couple of my signers.
So can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
Because there's a good chance this podcast will be seen by a much wider audience than usual. What is a dead name?
A dead name is the name that a gender nonconforming person, be they trans, NB, whatever, yeah, us, had before a transition. Some people choose to keep their names for one reason or another. Dylan Mulvaney is a very good example of that. She continues to use her dead name. Ian Thomas Malone, she also uses her dead name.
Correct.
But many of us decide to change our names. Like myself legally. I did it legally, right down to my birth certificate, gender marker and all, which that's a whole other fight in Ohio. But when we say dead name, we are talking about the name that we had before, and that name is dead. It's dead to the world. It does not apply. It is not us. It is in the past. It is poof. It is kaput. So,
Right. Correct.
yes, thank you. That's a very good question because many people might not know that. That's another fun thing I'm going to get into later, that my full dead name was published in a newspaper yesterday.
As tied to the issue that you're about to talk about, your full.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
And
Awful.
yeah, I'm upset about it, and I'm really upset about the response, which I'll read off. But
It's
so
interesting that they used your dead name in the context of this of what's going on. It's like they were trying to slight you right off the bat.
Yeah, a
It,
couple things on that. Number one, it's not necessary to refer to a
Right.
trans person by their dead name, particularly what really in any circumstance, but
never.
particularly if they've gone to the trouble to legally change that name.
Hmm.
That's not their legal name anymore.
Exactly.
That's just an anti-trans tactic to make things more sensational. Not only does it do that, but now that your dead name is out there, there's not only is an invasion of your privacy, but that heightens the risk of your own safety.
It does. It
Mhm.
really does. So, I mean, now people know my dead name is in print. So it's not like
Yeah.
I didn't have my name change sealed when I had it done, which you can do, but it's extra
Oh.
steps. And in my county, the judge does not like trans people already. So um I didn't bother with it. It would have taken extra paperwork and publishing in newspapers and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
Okay. So your dead name's out there. You turned in
yes.
your signatures. They get
Mhm.
vetted. What happened?
What happened after that? So why are
Yeah.
we here? Why are we having this conversation?
Yes. Why are we here?
So the deadline was December 20th, and yesterday they went through to certify the petitions. And by certify, it means they have gone through and checked all the signatures. And for mine, I had exactly 50. There was the 50th one was actually kind of hit and miss. There was actually an argument at the BOE over it, but in the end, I prevailed. Not that it matters.
BOE means.
Oh, Board of Elections. Sorry. Thank you. See, this is why I'm glad I have you guys here. Um, so I got a call during the certification, there are reporters in the room, and the reporters call the candidates as they get certified, or in my case, disqualified. And they give the candidates a heads up. It's so they can get sound bites and quotes and stuff. So
Okay.
it was just
Sort
what
of
they did
catch
for
the
me.
moment as it happens.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's how I found out that in Ohio, there is a law. It's a fairly unknown law, where if you have changed your name in the past 5 years and you're running for office, you are required to put both your current name and your former name, in my case, my dead name,
Okay.
on your petition when you file before anyone signs it. Which, on one hand, I agree with this law. The law is in place to keep keep bad operators from making a mess, changing their name, and then running for office under a different name. The law makes sense. The law is very old. And from what I understand, I don't have verification of this, but from an article written in the Plain Dealer tonight, I'm the first person in Ohio that they have actually applied it to so far since the 1950s.
Since this law was created, you're the first person to be impacted by this law. And just to check my notes, you're not a bad actor. You're not a criminal. You're not hiding your past. You
No,
just legally changed your name to represent who you are today.
exactly. And now, had I known that this was a requirement for the petitions, I would have put my dead name on the petitions. Now, I understand many trans people would not like to do that because we don't want our dead names known. I was passionate about running enough so that I'd be like, okay, fine, I'll do it. However, the Frank LaRose, the Ohio Secretary of State, put out a 33-page candidate guide for 2024 that has all of the instructions that you need to run for office, the types of signatures you need to get, who can sign, who can circulate them, where you turn them in, reporting things, all kinds of things for all the different offices.
And was this in there?
No. It is also not on the petition itself, nor is there a place on the petition for it. The petition only has a place for your name. It does not say previous names.
So, wow. So even on the petition, you couldn't have written in or whatever your dead, there's not a space for it on there. So the
Not space
petition
for
is
it.
not there. It's not there in the instructions. It's not there in the 33-page guide.
Exactly. And so, like, I could have squeezed it in under my name when I wrote my name on the petition, but there's no place saying that there's no space on there that says previously known as, You know, that's
Wow.
all they would
Okay.
have to do to put
Okay.
it. So this is a very obscure law, which I found out
Mhm.
today. When after the reporter called me as I was getting in the shower, after I got out of the shower, still naked, the Board of Elections called me. And then they explained what was going on. Where when I filed my paper, I've been hanging around my toddler too much. When I filed my paperwork, they did not know about this law either
Mm.
at the Board of Elections.
This is your local board of elections
My
is not aware
local,
of this law.
yeah,
How did this happen?
because once they were going through the signatures, and because they have a committee doing it, and there's a lot more people involved than the people at the window that take it. One person at the office knew about this law and caught it. And due to that, I was disqualified. And I agree with that disqualification. Go ahead.
Hang on a second.
Mm-hmm.
So someone knew about this law and applied it to you,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they knew that you were trans.
As far as I know, yeah. I mean,
They didn't look at any, did they communicate that they verified anybody else's signatures and look for another name in the background? Or did they
with
just single you out with this law because they knew you were trans?
that I can't answer. Because I don't know what happened, behind closed doors there. So, I'm the only one that got disqualified due to it, from what I understand, but I could also be the only person who had a name change that ran for office in Stark County in this
Right.
cycle.
Okay.
So, but I find it hard to believe that someone else throughout all these years hasn't. So they caught that, and that disqualified me. They voted 4-0 to disqualify me. And again, I agree with the disqualification because I understand and agree with the law. Where the issue falls into place is there are other transgender candidates in Ohio in different districts. Three others in total. 2 also ran with their current legal names and did not put their dead names on their petitions. Those candidates were certified, meaning
And this is a state law. It's not something
state
specific to
law,
your county. That goes with your board of elections. It's a state law.
state
So
law,
it's been applied
unevenly.
inconsistently.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the reasoning behind that is likely because this law is so unknown that the people at those boards of elections in much smaller counties than what I'm running in might not have known about it. Now, the implications of this are very severe. And so I'm glad they caught this when they did. Because what would happen? What happens if this happens and you get caught, even though I wasn't doing anything like on purpose, where say I made it all the way anywhere during my campaign, all the way up to me being in office. If someone brought this up, they could report it. I would be removed from office.
Okay.
I would also have to pay back my salary and pay back all of my campaign contributions because my entire campaign would have been illegal. The other candidates that were certified are facing that right now. They could have all this coming back in their faces through no fault of their own. It is the fault of those board of elections. My board of elections did the quote unquote right thing by disqualifying me. They were following the law. So now we have, as you said, this law being applied inconsistently, and it's all just amongst the trans community.
It's the only community that it impacts in this round of elections.
In this
and
round
as
of
far
elections,
as we know, in the history of this law for
it hasn't been
Ohio,
enforced.
and specifically disenfranchises you from serving office for no other reason than a technicality.
Exactly. So, reporters have started reaching out to me. The first one was that one from the Canton repository. And they printed a story, and they included my entire dead name, including my middle name, which I didn't
Did
find out
they?
about. What?
Sorry, it
Go
sounds
ahead.
like you're going to say they didn't ask.
Oh, they didn't ask.
Mm.
I only found it because I didn't have access to the article because it's behind a paywall. And so I found out about it through Morgan Trow, who is the reporter for Cleveland News Channel 5. She covers all the state house stuff, and she's also part of the queer community. She's an ally. She's a wonderful person. So
Okay,
um, she texted.
we love that.
Um, I actually invited her tonight, but she said that she has to get everything clear with her bosses since they own her image. So she's a reporter. She's a reporter.
Okay, okay.
So I found out through her, and I emailed the Canton repository, both the editor and the author of the article, saying, "Hey, using a trans person's dead name without the permission is just it's not cool." And their response to that was, "Vanessa, I am sorry that you're not happy with the name being included. Associated Press style, which we follow, is not to use a dead name unless it is relevant to the story. In this case, we concluded that it is relevant because the name is the reason that the elections board disqualified you from the ballot. Media companies, as you likely are aware, do not need permission to publish pertinent facts and stories."
That's some
Which,
garbage right there. While
that is some
saying they can
garbage.
say, because Vanessa's dead name, she only changed her name legally 2 years ago. I almost said it was. They were disqualified from running. We won't publish that name. They
Yeah,
published that name for a reason, and they
exactly.
didn't need to. They can run the story without giving your full name.
There's all they had to do is, yeah, they didn't have to put it. So Morgan, I sent that to Morgan because the Canton Repository is owned by the same news media group that Channel 5 is and everything. So she was obviously upset about this. She's like, "I can't believe they sent that." So she was the one who told me that I should contact them to have them removed in the first place. So yeah, that's still there. So my entire dead name, including my former middle name, are on there.
This
So
puts the other candidates at risk because not only is it a safety issue, but now conservatives can use this to discourage trans people from running or really doing anything significant with their lives, because you're basically just telling them to go back into the shadows and are
yeah,
using their dead name to
Mhm.
reinforce that. So this is now going to be, or this could be, a new tactic by conservatives to
and I'm going
discourage
to get into that later on here.
participation in the process.
And I think it goes even a step further than that. This is now sanctioned doxing for
Mhm.
all
Yeah,
intents and
and
purposes.
Yeah,
there are no penalties against it
Yep.
at all.
no.
It's not in any sort of regulation or what have you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm going to be getting into that after I finish the story. That's something that we can
Okay,
talk about the implications because
keep going.
they're broad.
Yeah, and
So
if you can't run, you can always just make this a separate issue and just, start a whole group around deeper inclusion of the transgender community.
we're working on a lawsuit, and I'll get to that in a little bit too once I'm done with my little monologue here. So that was yesterday that I talked to the Canton Repository, and they published the article almost like immediately after that. So, and then, as I said, I talked to the Board of Elections, and they told me why, and I understand, and they told me the repercussions of what would have happened had I gotten on the ballot and this got out. Me having to be booted from office and give back all the money, that's kind of a big thing. Um, so this morning, um, I get up, do my normal thing. I go do a real estate photography shoot. I get home, my phone rings. It's the Cleveland Plain dealer calling to ask me about it because they heard about it in a Canton repository and it's starting to trickle throughout the different news media.
Mm.
Um, so they interviewed me about it, and they had also interviewed some other candidates, and they had also talked to some lawyers. Um, And one of the lawyers a Republican lawyer, said, as far as he knows, this law hasn't been applied yet in Ohio until now. That's where I heard that. And
Mhm, mhm.
so after I got off the phone with him, I was contacted by Morgan Trout of News Channel 5, and she wanted to do a video interview of me. And I'm like, okay. So, because I knew of Morgan. Morgan is, as I said, she's an ally to the community. She's part of the community. And she covers all the craziness that goes on in the Ohio State House, which, if you follow the news, it's been a madhouse since the anti-trans legislation has been passed. So I interview was about 45 minutes long, and they cut it down to 30-second sound bites on the
Of
news, which
course.
is what you have to do. So kudos to Morgan for pulling that off. I have it takes me forever just to edit this podcast. I can't imagine doing all that editing in just a few short hours and getting it ready for TV. So she edited it herself, she said. But so I talked to her about everything, and I had talked to her a couple years in the past when I was attacked by attacked online, not like physically attacked, but verbally attacked by the author
Mhm.
of the anti-trans kid bill in Ohio,
Oh, right, right.
Gary Click. Yeah. So we kind of reconnected about that. And when I told her that my stepfather is State Representative Bill Romer, her head exploded. She's like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. So, but so we went into details and stuff like that. I am purposely not naming names of the other candidates. This entire thing's up in
Yeah.
the air, and I'm not even publishing this episode until after the ballots, the certifications are opposition to the certifications can be finalized. So, which is Friday at 4 p.m. So this episode's coming out after that. But because I don't want to hurt the other candidates. But so I talked to her, and I was learning more and more stuff. And the Ohio Democratic Caucus, who I had talked to in the past, also reached out. And we're going back and forth with that, with what my options are. And the Ohio Caucus asked me to call the Board of Elections to see if I can do a write-in for the primary, and which they said I cannot do due to the sore loser law. And when I was talking to the Board of Elections, I asked them about this law that disqualified me and why it wasn't applied to other candidates, and they have no idea. So probably for they're thinking for the exact same reason that it took so long for them to catch it in my case, because people didn't know about the law.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, considering they're saying because even though when you went to collect signatures, you let people know that you were trans as part of the process, that like it's part of your platform.
Mhm.
But because those people weren't informed of your dead name, which would have no meaning to them, no, like wouldn't be useful information to them at all,
Exactly.
right? You're now not qualified to run.
Precisely. Precisely. So, and my problem with this entire thing is that was not communicated to the candidates, to the point where even the boards of elections didn't know about it.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah. It's
so
wild.
yeah. So where we are now, I was featured on both in the Cleveland Plain Dealer tonight in an article, and News Channel 5 had me on their 6 o'clock bit. I'll probably provide links to those in the description so people can watch and read those if they want. But the other candidates are freaking out because their futures are on the line. They don't know what to
Understandably.
do. So it's kind of a hurry up and wait kind of deal. My plan is I'm working with the Ohio Democratic Caucus to hopefully file a lawsuit to fix this somehow, be it have the law changed to provide accommodations for transgender people,
Mhm.
or more simply, I mean, that would be the ideal situation, because then trans people wouldn't have to put their dead names on it. The easier way, the easier quick fix for it would be to just have the candidate guide include that. one additional paragraph in 33 pages.
Why? I think you said earlier that if you change your name due to marriage, you are excluded from this law. Is that true if it has been less than 5 years?
Yes, from what I understand, that was in the
So there's
Plainview
already a
article.
provision for people who have legally changed their names for upstanding reasons that does not apply to you. Wouldn't the easiest thing to do would be to amend that law, that part of the law, to be inclusive of trans people?
I would think so, yeah.
It's already
So,
being used for the same reason for
mhm,
people who have changed their name due to marriage.
exactly. So that's kind of where we are now. I had the amazing privilege today of Aaron Reed reached out to me and we talked on the phone and I got to talk to her and Zoe.
We love Aaron and Zoe.
Yeah. Zach, are you familiar with Zoe Zephyr, Aaron's fiance?
The name does sound familiar.
She's a Montana State House representative.
Oh yes,
So,
and it was quite notable last year for some things
yes.
that went on while they were in session last year.
Yes, she got censured by the Republicans, and it was a mess. So I was trying not to fangirl too much when I was on the phone with them. I was kind of screaming. I can't make the noise from my surgery. I was kind of
I'll do
screaming
it
on
for
the
you.
inside. Thank you. So, and Aaron, if you listen to this, no, I'm not going to abuse the fact that I have your phone number. I'm only going to use it if I,
Hi,
for
Aaron.
news. So Erica says hi. So yeah, the next steps are, this is where we can get into our discussion of everything. The implications of this are huge.
So how
Yes.
long were you running your campaign before this issue came up?
I started collecting signatures shortly
October?
after, yeah, when I was healed enough
Are you doing
from my
this?
surgery.
Are you doing basically a solo run, or do you have campaign staff?
Oh, solo run. I don't have money for
Really?
campaign staff. And like the Stark County Democratic Party was absolutely worthless. The chairman would not even return my correspondence. I wasn't even allowed to have the guy's phone number.
How did you know where to go?
Google.
Hmm.
Campaigning, I forget who told me, but it was someone I was talking to. It might have been at like, Lead, Ohio, I think, but she said that running for office is very lonely and in these early
Oh yeah.
stages. So it
Yeah,
was,
but I'm just asking because you had to get, reliable resources and information from somewhere.
that's the thing, is it's very hard to find reliable information. I had to Google and just kind of scrape things together. This candidate guide that I was talking about, where this law was not in it, wasn't available when I started. I just found some random thing. It said you need 50 valid signatures from Democrats, and that's how I did it.
Wow.
And I printed out the petition myself. And now I know I could have gone to the Board of Elections and print out the first petition there, but that'll be an hour and a half round trip to bring back 2 pieces of paper when I can just print out my own printer. So I collected, I believe, 44 of the signatures myself. And then I had some wonderful people that also helped me get signatures. So, and
I would have been hitting the streets in the fall just to shake as many hands and get as many names as possible.
that would be possible in an area where it would be safer to do that. But I'm a trans woman in a very red area, and there's a very high likelihood of me getting shot. So I was very careful with how I got my signatures. It was mainly grassroots through social media, and then I had signing parties and stuff like that. And I was only able to scrape together 65. It was very
Wow.
difficult to get signatures.
Yeah, it took you a while, as I
It
recall.
did. It took me good, 2.5
So it
months.
was just you doing this.
Just me, and then a couple people that also helped circulate. So, which was
Mhm.
wonderful
That's
of them, and I wouldn't have been
incredible.
able to do it
Wow.
without them. But the Stark County Democratic Party was of almost absolutely zero help. So,
Wow.
which pissed me off.
Yeah.
But
You gotta that there's a lot of these local elections make you prove that you deserve their help.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And now the Ohio Democratic House Caucus, they are very upset about this because they didn't know about it either.
Mhm.
And they're mad at themselves for not catching it for all of the candidates. So that's why hopefully they're going to help me with the lawsuit. I can't afford a lawyer, but Democratic Party should be able to work with someone like the ACLU
Okay.
and get this
Let's
done.
get it
They
done.
need it for their image, especially in this election. For the love of
Yeah.
God, please help this person.
So where we are is this is a wild precedent where there were multiple candidates, one of them
Mhm.
disqualified, two that weren't disqualified. Are they going to get disqualified? Is some loophole going to allow them to stay in? I don't know. But this has implications nationwide, not
Mhm.
just in
Mhm.
Ohio,
Mhm.
because if Ohio has this law, it's a pretty common sense law that you
Yeah.
can't change your name and run for office. Okay, fine.
Seems
Yeah,
like
I
that's
get that.
probably in place in one form or another across probably quite a few of our states.
Exactly.
Look at how many red states this law is in, and you'll see where it goes.
Mhm. So, the implications are terrifying for the trans community
Yeah.
because if this law is in other states, as I was saying, unless the instructions are on their candidate instructions and on their petitions, which they are not in Ohio, they likely won't know that they have to put their dead names on their petitions as well,
Mhm.
and they could get booted
Yeah.
off. So the Republican Party is going to latch onto this and be like, okay, well,
Yep.
this is how we keep trans people from running.
And I believe you brought this up too, Erica, but it's also a form of doxing
Mhm.
because you could find any and all information on someone just by Googling their name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by having Vanessa's full previous name out there, all three names, tying that you probably have to give residential information. They know what area, like
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that
it's all
they have a
public
lot
record.
of keys. They have a lot of keys to the kingdom as a result of these articles being published.
Mm-hmm.
And asking someone to have to, who's legally changed their name, to have to publish their previous name, which there's no legal precedent for you to have to publish what your legal name is once it's been changed.
Mm-hmm.
You no longer need that name for any reason, right?
Exactly.
You're basically forcing people to give away their privacy, even in running for public office, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
people in public office have the rights to privacy, and what so much of what people would need is out there on you now, Vanessa, because of callousness on the part of reporters and this law and the election board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Like
there's no law that there are no consequences for using somebody's dead name against them as blackmail or to threaten them in some way.
mm-hmm.
No, not until someone takes physical action against you will they people run afoul of any
Fingers
laws,
crossed.
And that might
right?
be
So
something you want to get a head start on.
yeah.
So we don't have to wait until a tragedy or a few tragedies to actually do something.
Yeah,
And also, this was done. Your dead name being published was done without your consent,
exactly.
Exactly.
And
right?
there's no reason for them to use it in the article. No reason at all. They said it's pertinent to the article. No, all they had to do is say is Vanessa used to had a different name before. They didn't
Yeah.
need to print the entire name.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
fact they're not retracting it is, as you said,
We
it's
know why
dangerous.
they're not retracting it. We know
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
It's a red paper in a red area. So
Right.
so yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah.
Can't
All right.
follow
So
money.
what other implications do we need to consider, right? You've already talked about likely versions of this law are in quite a few places and states across the nation, and trans people and anybody else that this might affect
Yeah.
needs to be aware of. This law was applied unequally across your own state, and people were quite uninformed about it. Are there any other implications we need to cover?
Well, one, the candidates that are still on, their futures are their entire
At stake.
their entire candidacy is at stake because they are now at the point where it's time for them to start campaigning because the March primary is coming up. We're only 3 months away from that now. So they have to start campaigning. They have to start getting donors. They have to start getting support. They have to start hiring staff. I know one of them already has staff.
Right.
And all this money might have to get returned.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
Mm.
all of that. And I think the other thing that's really worth addressing here to me is that while the roots of this law make sense, and certainly wasn't originally intended to impact trans people, it does,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as a matter of fact, it does not apply to people who have changed their name for other reasons, i.e., marriage,
Yeah.
right? So it's not only been applied unevenly in the state of Ohio, it has a specific purpose for existing, but you've been disenfranchised in a way that other people who wouldn't be if they didn't happen to be trans and in this situation. If that was your married legal name or your married birth name, we would not be in this situation. You would
Yeah.
not be in this situation, and neither would the other two candidates.
We would be on a campaign trail. I had enough
Right. So
signatures to be on a ballot. I could have
exactly,
been.
you earned your
I
right.
could, yeah, I could have helped flip Ohio purple, and now I
Yep,
can't.
you earn the right to be represented,
Mhm.
and other women perhaps are on the ballot who may have recently changed their name legally due to marriage, and they're not impacted by this law, but
Yeah,
you are.
yeah. From what I
That
understand
sounds
about the
like a
law.
Title IX infringement.
Yeah. So again, that's where this, I have a feeling, is going to catch national news pretty quickly. So your little Vanessa might
Potentially.
be
Busy.
more infamous than she wants to be.
Careful,
Yeah. So
careful.
because I know Erin Reed's going to be covering it. As I said, I talked to her today. And I gave her the details, and she asked for some more information when I get it, like the actual decision letter and stuff like that. So, um, because it's big, and you're probably going to start
It
seeing
is.
this on national news. I would say as soon as next week, because
Yeah,
there
well,
are
I
vast
mean,
implications.
the campaign season's already underway.
Mm-hmm.
So look out for the candidates to start talking about it or referencing it in some
Oh
way, shape,
yeah.
or form.
I mean, now there is a Republican candidate in my district, so he's running unopposed now. Now, when I talked to the Board of Elections today, the Board of Elections in Stark County, I have to say, any of them listening, you are wonderful. You've been so nice to me. They've been so accommodating. They've answered questions. They're understanding. They feel horrible about this whole situation too. So, I believe the um associate director, acting director, whatever she is, I believe she's a Democrat as well. But they told me that there is a someone that is supposed to be filing as a write-in for District 50. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we can have that. And if that's the case, I'm going to throw my weight in behind that person. Any fame that I get out of this, I want to help push towards them in order to help their campaign.
Yeah.
If it helps them.
Yeah,
If it hurts them, I don't want to do it.
that might be a good way or a better way to raise your profile, because you'd be doing it for yourself, but you'd also be spreading your influence among a community that's still very much in the shadows.
Yeah.
Your goodness.
I'm afraid my name's going to be on the news all over the place. Because I'm the one that was impacted by this. And I'm kind of afraid of what's going to happen. Now, maybe I can spin this around and turn it into some paid speaking gigs because your girl still doesn't have a job. So maybe, but
I mean, you've made history already by being the first person to be affected by this law. That's older than a lot of us. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Older than me, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, Ohio was already making history with 4 transgender candidates running this year. 4. Which, I mean, one of the things I
That's
talked to
amazing.
Morgan about, she's like, why are you running? And I brought up Nazi Germany. And the Nazis started with us. The Republicans are starting with us. And I'm running because we can't count on others to protect us.
yeah,
We have to be able to help ourselves. Be the
yeah,
change you want to see, in essence.
yeah. And you
So
continue amplifying that message even if you throw your weight behind somebody else.
exactly. Exactly. So Ohio has a Republican supermajority. The anti the anti-trans youth bill was vetoed
Yep.
by our governor.
Yes.
Um, And yeah, good on DeWine. I hope he did it for the right reasons. He said he did it because he could not look the parents in the eyes that he talked to and sign it. Now
He
Trump,
also
of
said he
course,
listened to the actual professionals in the room, the
yes,
medical
exactly.
professionals who could speak on this.
Now Trump, of course, attacked him and talked about genital mutilation and all that wonderful stuff because that's Trump. But from what I have heard, the General Assembly was not supposed to reconvene until the end of January, but now they are reconvening sooner in order to vote to override the veto. And Ohio has a Republican supermajority. That's how they got this passed.
It'll happen.
There were, from what I understand now, there were two Republican House representatives and one Republican senator that did not vote for the bill. So the three of you, thank you, wonderful, thank you. But there are whispers that the override might not have as much Republican support now as it did before because of all this outrage, because of the press it's gotten, because of what DeWine said. So, because as you said, Erica, it's like trust the professionals. So trust
And
the
I don't think
parents.
they want, I don't think
And
they
it-
want the bad PR at the national level either.
Yeah.
That's where this is
Well,
going. So,
and it's been a losing proposition for a
Mhm.
while
Yeah.
now, and particularly this year. Polls across the U.S. show that even Republicans are not that interested in this issue. It's
Yeah.
really an extremist wing of the Republican Party that is, and they keep pushing it, hoping it's going to get some votes. And I think probably sensible Republicans
Are
don't
distancing
really
themselves.
care
Yeah. That's
that
one thing.
about what happens about disenfranchising for trans people. They
Mhm.
don't. They care about the economy. They care about their jobs. They care about inflation.
That's one thing I talked to Morgan about in the interview that didn't get on TV because, again, 45 minutes cut down to 30 seconds. There's only so much you can fit. But was that I refuse to believe that 50% of Americans want the trans community eradicated. I refuse to believe
Yeah,
that.
same.
I think the vast majority of them, if they don't accept us, just don't care.
Just
And
care.
they were right. I'm perfectly happy with people not caring about us. I don't want people to care about the trans community existing,
all right.
you know. So yeah, that's kind of, I know we got off topic there with that, but there
No,
there's
but I get it completely. It's just like, leave me alone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't
We
glorify
love
me
our
if you don't need to, you know?
we love our passionate allies and
Right.
those that accept us. Those that are indifferent are that's fine. But
Mhm.
if you're actively working against us existing, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're a Republican that doesn't really have an opinion on transgender people, then stop voting for our erasure.
Yeah.
And the majority of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
You really think that they're thinking about bathrooms and sports and trans candidates running for office? They might be, but I'd be more concerned about having to choose between paying my rent or putting food on my table.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's a reason it's called table issues.
Expending our legislative dollars to push transgender women in particular out of sports. You know how many people in professional sports are transgender women? I think there is less than 20 nationwide. And in most states, there is a handful of amateurs. If you care about women's sports, you'd be caring about pay, equity, how they're treated, funding, all of that, not about 2 to 3 trans people in a state competing.
Yeah. And they're spending all of their time and effort on it. In the federal House, Republicans didn't pass anything last year. Nothing got done except for trying to impeach Biden. And so what you're voting,
which even some of them didn't want to do.
Yeah. And so I'm talking to Republicans now, Republican voters. I know that you traditionally like to vote along party lines, but look at what your party is doing. Are they really acting in your interest? What are they doing that benefits you personally? My primary platform when I was when I was planning on running was not going to be on trans issues because that's people in my district don't care about trans issues.
Right.
My platform here in Ohio was to find a way to provide universal childcare in Ohio,
A
which
little
that,
thing called basic human rights.
yeah.
Yeah.
And universal childcare in Ohio, that impacts so many people. That would bring
Yeah.
new industry to Ohio because people would want to live here. And I
Yes.
would suggest it be paid for by corporations and the wealthy, not the average person. So right now it's only available to very few select people, very few.
Yeah.
And so many parents struggle. Republicans want babies born, but they don't want anything to do with them afterwards. So that was my platform, that platform I felt would be popular amongst Democrats and moderate Republicans. Because in order to win my district, I would have had to sway many Republicans because there are more Republicans here than
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
Democrats. So that's where I was going to meet in the middle. I don't like party politics. Party politics are destroying this country. The two-party system's horrible. I don't like Democrats either. We all know that.
So let me ask you a question about meeting in the middle. How do you
Yeah.
meet in the middle when the other side is completely extreme?
Oh, I'm not
Would you
talking about
meet
MAGA
in the
Republicans. I'm
middle?
talking about moderate Republicans. There's no meeting in middle with the far right extremists. I wasn't
And
even
how
gonna.
many moderates are there actually?
I would say there are quite a few. I think the
Sounds
MAGA
like
Republicans are in the minority, but they're loud. So I think most people
Yeah.
just
I know.
don't care.
I know quite a few moderate and centrist Republicans that are not
Mhm.
big fans of the MAGA crowd, but they vote along those party lines, so they feel dragged into it.
Exactly. That's why I say I refuse to believe that the majority of Americans want to eradicate us.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, you two, since this is now something that the Republican Party can latch on to, this is a powerful weapon they have against us. What can we proactively do as a community, be us in the trans community, allies, what have you, to stop this, to help get candidates for this election cycle? It's going to be too late for everybody now. We're probably going to see trans candidates across the country get disqualified because of this. Now that if there's situations like this in Ohio.
Yeah.
I
So,
would partner with organizations or look to partner with organizations that can provide community resources or can
mhm,
direct the trans community to where there are inclusive community resources. It's not just, it's more than medical, it's
Mhm.
mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual.
mhm,
So one way to do this would be to team with organizations, local organizations that can direct trans people to community resources.
I agree with that. And I think
mhm,
that at that sort of level that you're talking about there, Zach, that the Democratic board, because let's be honest, in just about every state, if trans people are running, they're going to be running on the Democratic side
yeah,
of the spectrum. Look into all of these laws. Look into all the ways someone can be pushed off the ballot, can be disenfranchised through loopholes, through ways that are unintended. Right? This is obviously the law that I had no idea existed
me
even
neither.
in your state, even though I don't live there, but
Mhm,
it kind of makes sense that it does. So
yeah,
how many other things like this are there out there? And we need to be understanding all these things that govern local election, because let's be honest, local elections, your state House of Representatives, your various members of the court system locally are going to be elected in a county. And if
mhm,
we don't understand those laws and how they are deployed across the state, we can forget about getting trans people to a national election,
yeah, yeah.
right?
It's big.
So those board of electors, the people that run those parties in their state should make an effort to understand all these ways that these laws can be used against us
Yeah, I was
and
talking.
inform people so they don't get caught up in this.
Yeah, I was talking to another one of the candidates, and I said the Board of Elections failed us by not knowing these laws. They failed us. I What should have happened when I went to turn in my signatures is they should have said, "Is this is Vanessa Joy your has this been your legal name for the past 5 years?" And I would have said no. when I went back to turn in some financial paperwork that was required, I remembered to bring with me my court ordered name change because I'm like, well, I need this for my driver's license for everything else, so I might as well let them have this on record. And even then, they're like, well, we don't really need this, you know.
So you took steps to inform them,
Yeah.
just not in the very specific way they wanted you to.
So in Ohio, this law needs to be printed on the candidate guide. There's no reason for it not to be there. It needs to be clear. The candidate guide should be very comprehensive, but it's not. And it should be printed on the petitions too. It's the entire system is very cavalier, honestly, where trying to get information on how to run and everything is just hard. And as Erica, you said, until you actually get a certain distance, people aren't going to take you seriously. So no one took me seriously until now. I have reporters calling on me. Yeah. And
Now you're
before this, it was just me and a couple local queers getting signatures. So yeah. So this is kind of scary for the trans community. I believe Aaron Reed is going to be covering this and the implications of it. And we'll see over the next week or two if this comes out on the national level. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but I would not be surprised to see, articles about this in CNN popping up. I would not be surprised if I start getting phone calls from national publications, because it's kind of a wild situation. I didn't want any of this to happen. I just wanted to run for office. I wanted to try to make a change in Ohio. And now I'm in the middle of this freaking conspiracy. So
As an
They were-
upstanding, law-abiding citizen who followed all the rules that were made known to you,
mhm.
that's what you're after, is
Yeah.
exercising your right to represent your local government.
What were you gonna say, Zach?
No, if they were applying this law correctly, is it a matter of, does it sound like it's just a matter of language to make it more inclusive to the transgender community?
Yeah, they could make it. I don't know what language it would need to have. I'm not a lawyer,
Yeah.
obviously, but
But I'm sure, if you read the bill online and, there's there's probably a way that they can attach an amendment to it to change the language. It would take a lot of heavy lobbying on your part, but that's one route I would go.
well, how about the can I read the statute to you too? It's not very long.
Yeah.
So it is section 35.1 3513.271 of the Ohio Revised Code. The latest version of it was effective August 22nd, 1995, from House Bill 99 of the 121st General Assembly. So the text is as follows: if any person desiring to become a candidate for public office has had a change of name within 5 years immediately preceding the filing of his statement of candidacy, both his statement of candidacy and nominating petition must contain, immediately following the person's present name, the person's former names. Any person who has
So
been
all they have
elected.
to do is change the pronouns?
What's that?
Would all they have to do is change the pronouns?
From what I understand from a
Make
lawyer
it
talk
fair?
today, the pronouns don't mind, don't matter. The reason I emphasize saying his is just this is a law in Ohio,
Yeah, they
It's-
couldn't
but
even
the whole
include
point with
women in this
pronouns
law.
is
yeah,
to-
exactly.
The
So
whole point with pronouns is to increase inclusivity. So
yeah, I understand that's why I highlighted that, because it's just funny because I'm legally female, but so but his statement of candidacy and nominating petition must contain, immediately following the person's present name, the person's former names. Any person who has been elected under the person's changed name without submission of the person's former name shall be immediately suspended from the office and the office declared vacated, and shall be liable to the state for any salary the person has received while holding such office. The Attorney General, in the case of candidates for state offices, the prosecuting attorney of the most populous county in the district in the case of candidates for district offices, and the prosecuting attorney of the county in the case of all other candidates shall institute necessary action to enforce this section. Now, the second part, this section does not, this is answering your question. This section does not apply to a change of name by reason of marriage to a candidate for a state office who has once complied with this section and who has previously been elected to a state office, to a candidate for a district office who has once complied with this section and who has previously been elected to a state or district office, to a candidate for a county office who has once complied with this section and has previously been elected to a state, district, or county office, a candidate for a municipal office who has once complied with this section and is previously elected municipal office, or to a candidate for a township office who has once complied with this section and previously been elected to a township office, provided that such previous election was one at which his candidacy applied with this section. So that actually answers our questions. Yeah, it does specifically exclude name changes for marriage. So yeah, here we are. And I mean, the language of this bill is so old that it is gendered as his because they were not expecting women to run. And here we are. I am disqualified from office due to this. And yeah.
Another woman would not be
No.
if it
most
was
likely
because
not.
of marriage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here we are. That is House Bill 99 of the 121st General Assembly, Ohio Revised Code, Section 3513.271, if you want to look it up. And that's where we are. And I am sure there,
How
as
can
I
they
said,
be updated? 'Cause it's been almost 30 years.
it's been almost, from what I understand, the original version of this law has been in place since the 50s. So, you know, we're 70 odd years in here. So it sucks. I'm upset. I spent yesterday fighting back tears because it'd be one thing if I didn't have enough valid signatures to get on the ballot. You know, okay, fair enough. You know, I tried, I failed at getting signatures. I had enough signatures. I should be on the ballot to run for office. But this obscure law has kept me from doing it. Me and only me from doing it. So.
All right. Well, hey, Vanessa, we're with you on this one. The way this was applied across your state and to you personally is wrong, especially considering what's already written into the law that allows for, you know, other people to not be caught up in this issue. Please keep us informed. Please let us know what we can do for you.
I will.
And, I hope the whole Democratic community shows up for you to support this. This is something that needs national attention.
Yeah, I'll be providing updates as they come up. You know, I'm also kind of exhausted from all this. You know, my phone ringing off the hook, and I was trying to edit photos today, and I'm getting interviewed by
I know
by reporters. And so, I mean, people, as you know, you can follow me on social media platforms at Venestradiol. It's always in our description here if you're curious to see how things are going. And I'm hoping that this doesn't make national news, but I'm pretty sure it's going to. So,
yeah. See,
yeah, this is not how I was hoping to get transcending humanity on the map, but maybe we'll get a couple listeners and maybe a couple Patreon subscribers out of this. Please subscribe to Patreon. I can't afford to keep supporting the show. It's expensive.
And if you listen to this one, there's 31 other episodes that are also really good.
Exactly. And it's a great show. We have this great staff here, and we rotate. For those that this is the first time you're listening, we have different hosts every week, or I guess we publish every other week now, but we cover all sorts of topics that are important to the trans and queer community and our allies, like from travel to finding work to bathrooms. We've had a couple episodes on bathrooms. And then Erica's Trans Joy episodes, which they are much needed breaks from the horrible stuff that we wind up having to talk about. So in order to
we have a quite strong point of views from our trans mask and non-binary members of our family as well, and from our allies that we have Zach with us, and we have quite a few others. So it's not just two white trans ladies on here.
Yeah. So yeah, listen to our back catalog. Everything's available on podcast platforms if you're listening to that, or if you see this on YouTube, we have it all on everything's on YouTube. So Like, comment, subscribe, rate us, please. We need to grow.
Share this
share,
episode
yeah.
far and wide so the story gets out there.
This is a wild story. It's I never expected to be in a position of making history like this, but this is a kind of a history making kind of thing. Me and the other candidates, because they're affected as well. If not, I would say arguably worse than I am, because they are now exposed.
Yeah.
I at least have some sort of definitive conclusion. I can't run. So who knows what's going to happen? So do either of you have final thoughts?
I mean, I think generally, like, from the perspective of this law, I get why it's in place. I don't understand why it is being applied unevenly
Mhm.
and why people on your specific board of elections could be aware, well, the person who was could be aware of how to apply this law, who not to apply it to, and still applied it to you.
Mhm.
That's a problem.
It is. It is. Zach, you got anything?
I mean, I've basically been stating my thoughts this whole time. But honestly, I mean, I wouldn't stop. I'd take a breather and
Don't stop.
absorb everything. But I would, either try to get your name as a write-in, and if you can't do that, then get behind an ally.
Yeah.
And just reinforce this message throughout their campaign, and maybe you'll come back stronger the next time around because you'll have more of a presence.
That's my hope. I'm completely. I cannot run. My campaign is dead. I cannot run as a write-in either. The Board of
I
Elections
mean, it's
verified
really
that today.
not, though. But
What's not?
your campaign could become bigger than yourself. So it's
Oh,
really
well, yeah,
not.
yeah. That's true.
This
I mean,
iteration.
yeah. So, but yeah, I'm
I
hoping to
mean,
build
you're on the
this.
front lines of the culture wars. So
I never expected that. So yeah, here we are. I will, as things progress, I'll probably be interjecting in like little tidbits and episodes in the future as I learn more.
keep
But
us updated.
yeah, this is it's a wild situation. So
Yeah.
thank you both of you for joining me. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. For new listeners, again, welcome. I hope you like what you heard, and check out our back catalog, which this is a fun show. We've had some pretty fun times and some interesting conversations, and it's very varied. So
Usually a little less serious than this, but still
yeah, a
cover
little less
different
serious and
topics.
a whole lot more cussing. This is, I think, our
Yep.
first episode where Vanessa's sailor mouth did not get introduced. So we're trying to keep it kind of PG, but so yeah, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful day. Have a happy new year, and keep on keep on fighting, and don't let the hate overwhelm you. Bye.
Right on.